Heyo everybody, Haku here with my read-through for Mahou Shoujo Ikusei Keikaku, or Magical Girl Raising Project, Limited Chapter 4. This one's titled Hero or Idol. And before I get into this one, I am really tired. I haven't slept much lately for the past week or so. So I've actually got green tea instead of water this time because I mentioned it in my Tower of God video yesterday, but maybe it's from doing so many videos, maybe it's from not sleeping well or taking care of myself well enough, but I keep, the past few weeks, and I feel like you've been able to notice probably the most in my read-throughs, I keep losing my voice pretty quickly, and my throat's just been really dry and bothering me, so I got some green tea. I don't know if that'll actually help. Pretty sure tea is supposed to actually help, but legitimate real tea, not this bottled green tea that's probably even worse. That's probably even worse for me. But I usually drink only water, so it's going to be different for me having actual caffeine in my system, but hopefully it keeps me active and alert, even though I'm tired. But I'm excited for this one. I'm really excited to read because we got our introduction chapters. All three of the first three chapters were introductions to these three groups, and now we're probably going to start seeing the actual plot that the three groups are going to be getting into take shape. I wouldn't be surprised though, because I thought about it a little bit when I was setting up my recording stuff and all. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Pithy's group any this chapter though. I feel like there's nothing much more for them to do except for travel to where all the other characters are, but the other characters are actually getting into it, they're actually making plans and stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we just jump back and forth between seeing the investigators and their plans and seeing the Rainbow Toko group and what their plans are going to be. Because, of course, tragically, they are good people, but they don't know that they are the bad people. And even then, they're kind of more neutral than anything. The bad group is Pithy's group, though they're incredibly entertaining. Between Pithy and Pukin, and Top Pop is really funny too. Between them, that group is the most entertaining and the most funny, but they're kind of the bad group. So my plans for this is 32 pages long. I think I went and looked a couple days ago to see where the page break was to see how I needed to split this up. I think I want to do 22 pages. Like I said, go like I usually say or usually do, go for about an hour or so for the first part, and then I guess that would leave 9 or 10 pages for the depending on how long this is, 9 or 10 pages for the second one. Have a shorter video in a couple days. Also, if you haven't seen my second part of the read through for chapter 3, I would say go definitely watch that, because I gave my death predictions and I had a character discussion. It was just a lot of fun. So, yeah, and I couldn't stop laughing while reading it too. But yeah, Chapter 4, Hero or Idol. Let's get started. And we're starting from Nanako-san's point of view. Remaining time, 22 hours, 12 minutes. Ripple was wearing a double coat and a hoodie. However, because her coat didn't reach the length of her feet, it couldn't hide the wooden sandals that she was wearing. Nanako-san's peacoat had no hoodie. She had neither a hat nor a mask. She couldn't purchase any hats because we don't have a lot of time. She only managed to borrow a mask from the nearby convenience store and borrowed Ripple's scarf to cover her heart-braided hair. Since she had her goggles on, she looked like someone suspicious. Hana's long ears were firmly covered in her hoodie. Her coat was perfectly calculated to account for the length of her ears. Her coat's length was long, even managing to cover her exposed legs. Mana wore a trench coat, no hoodie on. However, she didn't wear a mask, nor did she wear a hat. She was completely exposed from the neck above. Was she really okay with that, thought Nanako-san. Perhaps it was because she was a professional. Mawpom's dress coat somehow exuded a sense of incongruity. It looked like something you could get anywhere, yet its couture also looked like something luxurious. And it also looked homemade. She's probably not even wearing a coat, that's probably just her actual costume. For the time being, everyone was wearing coats, pretending to be normal people. However, Nanako-san had no idea how the public would see them. As far as investigations go, Nanako-san was an amateur. Although she was forced into this cooperation, she took her boss's arbitrary words for what they were. Even if she doubted it, she didn't know what to say. Mana was messing around with her magical phone in her white minivan. Apparently, they'll be investigating using that car. Nanako-san grabbed her chest and breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that she wouldn't have to walk around in this getup. Though, using a car doesn't seem very magical girl-ish. Usually, magical girls run much faster than cars. However, since it's daytime, they couldn't afford to be seen. In the windows of the minivan there was a smoke film screen that was plastered in, making it very investigation-like. We had a bigger van before, but we had to leave it when we were attacked. When Mana opened the door, Nanako-san saw the cramped interior, which made her feel sorry for them. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I got distracted. When Mana opened the door, Nanako-san saw the cramped car interior, which made her feel sorry for them. Mana grunted. Nanako-san sat beside Hana. And remember, don't waste time talking about things that don't matter. Don't talk about anything, ordered Mana, even though she's just talked about being attacked. Two magical girls. They were chasing after Mana on her van as she drove away. Because they couldn't shake them off, Mana created a smoke cover using magic. Then, they abandoned the van and separated, trying to break their pursuers apart. Although Mana somehow managed to escape, when she tried to regroup, she found Hana but not her other ally. Instead, they found their corpse. Hidden behind an alley, now headless. There was no trace of resistance. While they tried to escape, it seems their head was decapitated from behind. That bastard. They were an expert at scouting, too. Killed just like that. Mana's sorrow seemed to be blurred inside her words. Her friend was killed, and now the Foreign Affairs Division is locking them up inside the barrier. Still, Mana hasn't given up. Okay, so the smoke and the rocks did come from Mana, confirmed, and the stick that the person was holding was Mana's stick. So, there's that. And then I guess the one that killed, we don't really know much about what they actually looked like. I guess they must have been the one in the black cap. But either way. Mana hasn't given up. Or wait. Yeah. I read all that. We need to look for Toko. If we can't find her, we'll find her magical girls. For now, we just need to move. The barrier has a limit. The magical energy is also fading. If it goes down, we've lost our chance. We have 24 hours. Shit. 22 hours now. Even if we use all the time we have, if our enemy runs away. Mana furrowed her brows, raised one brow, curled her nose. She was using every part of her face to express her anger. You could probably even hear her gritting her teeth. Nanako-san deflected her eyes. Mana took a deep breath and continued. There's no room for compromises. Even if they run away, we need to intercept them. Mana stayed quiet again. Nanako-san felt sorry for Hana. Well, Nanako-san, Ripple, if it's all right, I'd like to confirm something with you. Sure. Your magical skills. Do you need your eyes to use them? Can you only throw 100 shuriken to something you can see? Does your status magic need you to see the target with your own eyes? If I can't see them, I can't use my magical skill. Nanako-san said so, and she looked at Ripple. Ripple nodded softly. I see. So you two need vision to work your magical skill. Alright, then this should help you. Nanako-san's vision became clearer. She didn't know exactly what happened. She tried removing her goggles. Maybe their transparency apparently went up. Apparently the clear vision wasn't caused by the goggles. The surrounding landscape, the landscapes in the distance, she could see all of them clearly. A magical girl's eyesight was better than a human's. However, this was even more than that. Nanako-san looked at Ripple. She was also looking around her surroundings in awe. This is my magical skill. Hanageko Kujo's magic was the ability to sharpen any senses. Sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. She can increase their sensation and sharpen it. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. That's why when she kicked Captain Grace felt like it was just this terrible exploding injury, and why it kept her in pain, because she was able to increase the sense of pain then in Captain Grace. So that makes sense. Okay. I can do it all. Hold on. Sorry. Felt like I had a piece of hair or something in my mouth. I can. Maybe you think of pithy. I can do it all at once at the same time. I think it was just dust. But I think that'll just cause an overload and confusion. Also, if I use my magical skill on multiple people, it gets a bit harder to maintain it. So for the time being, I'll just enhance your sight. How do you feel? Do you need more? Nanako-san felt the illusion that things were approaching her. She could see every single dust particle in the air. She could also see the shape of the clouds in the sky as clear as she could her own hands. She could even confirm the type of tree growing on the mountains far in the distance. Is this enough? I'm afraid if it'll be too much if I increase it again. Amazing. This is amazing. It's no big deal. Transforming into a magical girl from a human, she felt her senses sharpening before, but this was different. This was like a new experience, a new discovery. She felt pleasure and joy. I'm going to grab a sip of this really quick. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm enjoying this so far, though. A lot. I feel like... Sorry, I don't... well, now that I've been talking over it, I can't really cut that out. Or I guess I could. I don't know what I'll do in the future if I need to get something to drink, if I'll cut it out, or if I'll just talk while I'm doing it to make use of discussion time while I'm grabbing it. So, don't know how that's going to go. I'll decide when I'm editing, I guess. So yeah, either way. Ripple squatted down, and when she got up, she had 2 pebbles on her palm. She threw one of them to the sky as it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Afterward, she threw the other pebble with tremendous speed. Soon afterward, crack! The sound of them bumping could be heard. The pebble fragments fell apart. Hana and Nanako-san gasped and applauded. Amazing. It's nothing. My magical skill only works on a radius of 3 meters, centering on me. As long as you don't leave that, this won't time out. Okay. Hana was driving the car. Her sharpened hearing, she also played the role of scout, listening for anything strange. Since she looked young, some police might stop her, but they wouldn't be trouble. Hana would just show them her driver's license. She was 21 years old, and in that license there were no rabbit ears on her picture either. Our group's leader is good at making these things. Mana seems to have forged it using magic. It was possible to fool even modern technology and reproduce it. Well, the rest is all according to procedure. Mana used her wand to locate the presence of magic. It seems her wand would point her to the direction of the closest magical presence, but it could only point to the rough direction. Still, it was better than nothing. Nanako-san looked outside from the front of the passenger seat. Although the wand indicated the direction, it won't tell the distance. That is to say, they needed to use Nanako-san's magical goggles to look around. Although their target may be lurking inside a building, that wasn't a reason not to use the goggles. Okay, so what I'm thinking right now is we don't know Mapam's skill yet. We know Ripple's, we know Nanako-san's, now we know Hana's. Is Mana's like, because we've seen she can shoot rocks, she can create smoke, and she can also tell the direction that magic's coming from. Weird theory, but Mana is dressed like a mage and all. Is Mana actually a magical girl, or is she a mage? Because we learned the difference 2 chapters ago, where mages can use a variety of magic, but it takes preparation time and training and all that, whereas magical girls can use magic pretty much infinitely and freely, but they can only use one specific ability. So I wonder if Mana's actually a mage rather than a normal magical girl. Or if her magical skill is just some crazy magic shit. Who knows? Okay. I'll just start at this Nanako-san one, I think. Yeah, I think that's where we are. Nanako-san looked outside from the front of the passenger seat. Though the wand indicated the direction, it won't tell the distance. That is to say, they need to use Nanako-san's magical goggles to look around. Though their target may be lurking inside a building, that wasn't a reason not to use the goggles. She needs a bit of ingenuousness when setting her parameters for her goggles. If their target detransformed, it would be impossible to find and talk to them. She set her goggles to scan for number of magical girls killed. She prioritized finding people who acted suspiciously. If she saw someone running, for example, she'd use her goggles to look at them. Ripple was supposed to be her charge. However, her magical skill of always hitting with her shuriken seemed way too strong. Even just listening to it, Nanako-san was a little shocked to learn that she was a child of Clanberry. The magical girl sent to Nanako-san didn't usually have the possibility to be problematic. However, she was very powerful and had a large possibility of being problematic. Hana didn't take any pride in her fighting abilities, but she wasn't weak. That's why she and Mana were the leaders of this investigation in the first place. Indeed, even though her magical skill was auxiliary, its effects were amazing. However, her magical skill only reached 3 meters in radius, so there were some constraints. Nanako-san should pay attention to that. And once more, I think they meant. Just a typo there. And once more, Nanako-san looked out of the window. She couldn't see the moon or the stars. The sky was covered in black. It's November, so the nights were long. Outside the window it was cold. Malpam was flying outside by herself in the cold night sky. It was possible for her to fly at high speed. She had eyes in the sky and on the ground. Even if they were attacked from above, she could intercept them. She had the speed to rush in. In short, it was possible for her to do anything. Just before Malpam flew above, Nanako-san's boss requested her to find out about Malpam's combat abilities. So, Nanako-san fearfully asked Malpam, and because Pam politely obliged, Nanako-san confirmed Malpam's combat ability using her goggles. And instantly, countless numbers of hearts filled her display, the intense light burning her eyes. "What's wrong?" asked Malpam. Nanako-san could only reply, "That's amazing." Now, even with Hana enhancing her vision, Malpam was flying at an altitude where it was difficult to see, perhaps because of Mana, or because it was easier to look down from the sky. She didn't know which. It may have been either. It doesn't seem that this group had any weaknesses, did it? That small feeling gradually grew bigger. If they got in a fight, Nanako-san didn't think she could contribute. The priority would be dividing their roles. Devising their roles. Did they mean devising or dividing? Because the S and D key are beside each other, so I don't know if it's a typo. If Nanako-san would be the one to be deciding what role they needed to play, or if they meant their priority as a group would be dividing the roles, which I think makes more sense in the context. Just because she couldn't fight doesn't mean she's completely useless. For now, she had to do her best to scout outside the car window. She targeted anyone that came within her sight one by one. The status screen changed as fast as the blink of an eye, but with a magical girl's vision she could easily read them. The car was driving 10 kilometers an hour below the speed limit. Since there weren't many cars on the road, traffic wasn't a problem. After they reached a T-junction, they turned left, proceeded to a place with brown rice fields, and from there they turned left again and went down the mountain roads, swiveling through the reservoir. They really didn't know where they were headed down this bad stretch of road. "Hey, where exactly are we going?" someone asked, without any feeling or tone from the back seat. Nanako-san replied with a slight, "Huh?" Hana interceded from the driver's seat. "Since we're moving according to the wand, we'll have to do it this way. Since it only roughly tells us where to go, sometimes I'll have to take detours. Not even I know where we're going, actually. We're just aiming for a general direction." "Ah, I see. It's a pretty primitive method, but it's the best we've got right now, so hey, you need to focus." The voice from the back seat seemed to get crankier. Nanako-san scratched her head. On the back seat was Mana sitting next to Ripple. The fact that there's someone of high rank who's in a bad mood sitting nearby would put anyone in a position of pressure. Concentration is one of a magical girl's selling points. If you guys mess her up there, what do you think's gonna happen, huh? "Ah, she's finally getting involved," Nanako-san sighed in her heart. Look, a convenience store." Hana pointed forward. There was a convenience store just ahead. Its parking lot was as wide as the rice fields. "Buying a midnight snack, but shouldn't we think of the time?" No, it's fine. I'll go alone. I'll be back soon." They parked the car. Mana gave a signal not to be alarmed and left the car. Nanako-san breathed out a sigh. She was finally able to relax. My apologies. Hana clasped her hands together and lowered her head. She was smiling a bit bitterly. She's not really a bad person. It's just easy to misunderstand her for one. Okay. So Mana was the one that went to get a snack. Because their name is the same except one with an H, one with an M, it's really easy to get them confused while reading aloud. Okay, she's smiling a bit bitterly. She's not really a bad person, it's just easy to misunderstand her for one. She was probably talking about Mana. Nanako-san, in a hurry, shook her head. No, that's not what I was thinking. Nanako-san probably gave off that kind of attitude. Hana probably found a convenience store for that reason. Maybe Nanako-san was disturbing them. She's very eager about her job. She's very serious, and I'm sure she doesn't think ill of you as long as we do the right thing. It's just that this time she's a little swept in by her mood, that's all, so my apologies. No need. This is just a misunderstanding. You should see Mana when she's drunk. It's usually hard for people to get along with her, but when she's drunk she gets along with everyone. It's kinda cute, too. Rather than talking about someone who should be her boss, Hana seemed to be talking about her as if she was her sister. Her rabbit ears under her hoodie seemed to be moving, and she had a small smile, something that Nanako-san thought was very pleasant. Oh, sometimes she curses too. Excuse her for that, Nanako-san. Ripple. That's fine. We don't mind that. I'm serious. She really isn't a bad person. Even now, no other person thinks about magical girls as much as her. Thinking about magical girls? Yeah. Suddenly, Nanako-san felt that feeling of incompatibility once again. Speaking of magical girls don't need midnight snacks. Mana's costume and appearance didn't even seem magical girl-like. In terms of being a magical girl, it's as if Mana wasn't a magical girl at all. Mana, is she not a magical girl? Okay, so see, this is what I guessed earlier. That's right, Mana isn't a magical girl, she's a mage. Did you just notice? Hana replied with a surprised voice. Nanako-san felt embarrassed. If she didn't ask, she would have never noticed. Today, the gears in her head were probably moving slower than usual. She thought to herself, looking for an excuse. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Oh, I feel so embarrassed right now. But couldn't you figure it out using your magical skill, Nanako-san? Nanako-san-san. If I don't need to, I won't use it. I always keep that in mind. If I scanned anyone other than trainees, it'll be rude, and if I do use it, I always ask for their permission first, so sorry. Hana turned from a surprised face to an amazed face. Then she turned from an amazed face to a happy face, and finally smiled. Wow, you're a good person too, Nanako-san-san. No, I'm not. She just didn't want people being angry and hating her. She's had a principle of being a bit more timid than anyone. To say that she's a good person, that description best fits Hana, who she'd be willing to follow along with. Also, could you not call me Nanako-san-san, please? I shouldn't? Yeah, it's weird. Nanako-san-san? Nanako-san is fine. If you call me by that, I'd be really grateful. Really? Seems like I'm belittling you if I do that. No, it's a good name. But still. No, please. No, I must insist. They heard another funny noise from the back seat. Nanako-san and Hana looked behind them. Ripple was laughing, and she held her head down, muttering, Sorry. Her cheeks were blushing red. Okay, now, to get a sip of drink. I really like this so far. I like that group a lot, which makes me sad, because we're 4 chapters in, a chunk into the 4th chapter, and we're getting introduced to these characters and building them up so that we love them so much, and it's gonna hurt even more because I know that as previous arcs have gone, most of them are dying. That's just the way things have to go. So I kind of feel like, I don't know, at least this group, most of them feel a little bit safer. Like when I did my death predictions, I feel like Malpom's pretty safe, Ripple's very safe, and even Nanako-san's kind of 50-50, so I feel like that group is at least a little bit safer than some of the others. Whereas the real sadness is going to come from the Toko group. All the innocent students who don't know that they're on the wrong side, just getting slaughtered, that's going to be rough. That's probably going to be the saddest. The saddest deaths are going to be from that group probably. So now we have Kuru Hime, who has to be Nozomi, I guess, because she's the only one we didn't know her name. So Kuru Hime. I wonder if Kuru is supposed to be katakana for curl, or if it's an onomatopoeia. I wonder. Either way, it's nearly 8 p.m. After parting with her students, Nozomi was given an address to head to an apartment. Everyone should have gathered there, but there was only Toko in the room. She was on the table, sitting atop a table coaster. Where's everyone else? They're off playing outside. When a human gets amazing powers, it's only natural they'd want to test it out, right? Even if it's just moving their bodies, you wouldn't believe how happy that could make a person. Even though she looked like a cute fairy, she had a sly, sarcastic smile. They're kids, and kids will be kids, am I right? Usually being a magical girl is something dim-witted kids want to do. An adult being a magical girl, now that's rare. Toko looked up. They're very rare. You mean people like me. If someone becomes a magical girl, it means they also accepted something like that in their heart. I don't think I remember doing that. It doesn't have to be consciously accepting it. Toko sharpened her smile and stared outside the window. Toko looked like an adult, taking these kids as fools. And although that made her angry, in reality, even Nozomi thought that Toko's expression seemed the most mature, more than anyone else's, even more than Nozomi's. Hey Toko? You say she's an evil witch, but what did she do that made her evil? Oh, you don't have to worry about that. You see it in fairy tales, young adult novels, comic books. You should read those. Basically, she did things that evil witches do there. She didn't turn around when she said that. She talked as if she was casually spitting it out. As she thought, Toko was an adult. Nozomi placed her baggage under the sofa and got out of the room. Before Nozomi returned to the school, it seemed that Toko's mood got better. But actually, instead of Toko being in a good mood, it seems that she just got calmer than before. Alright, so if they're messing with magical skills, we know Rainbow can create the rainbow bridges. We know that that Captain Grace can make a giant ship, which seems pretty useless because I think they specifically said it had to be in water. It's not just floating around shooting cannons at stuff, which would be cool. Then we know Funny Trick can swap the places of hidden things. So that's 3 down. We don't know Wedin's magical skill. We don't know Posteri's magical skill. We don't... May. We know May's. May's can... What can May do again? She can, like, become lighter than air or, like, diffuse herself or whatever. So that's actually really useful because, like, somebody could punch straight through her and not hurt her or whatever. So there's 4 we know at least. And I mentioned Wedin and Posteri we don't know. That's 2. So there should be 2 more in there. Nozomi maybe can control ribbons. Maybe that's her magical skill, or maybe that's just a side thing she can do. So I don't know if that's actually her magical skill or not, but it might be. And there was one more that I'm forgetting here. I got Funny Trick, got Captain Grace. It's the one that's Captain Grace's friend, right? Or was that Funny Trick? Then Posteri and whatever. So I did name all of them. Wedin, May, Nozomi, who is Kuru Hime, Funny Trick and Captain Grace, and then Posteri and Rainbow. And we know Rainbow's, don't know Posteri's, know May's, we don't know Wedin's, we might know Kuru Hime's, we know Funny Tricks, and we know Captain Grace's. So yeah, I did name all 7. Okay, but either way, let's get back to the next scene after that scene break. After finishing their first battle, the new magical girls who repelled the enemy returned to the science lab while avoiding any witnesses. Okay. Since they weren't able to completely annihilate their enemies, Toko continued to be angry. Meanwhile, the students were discussing about their current situation without fear. Since these magical girls weren't listening to any of her arguments, that only fueled Toko's anger further. Toko continued to shout out unintelligible words. For a moment, they could hear Toko's furious voice from the rooftops. With her violent voice, she wasn't shy about throwing away her dignity. She seemed more like a stranger than a fairy. Although Toko, who came backwards, wasn't angry anymore, she was in a bad mood. Who came back afterward. She wasn't angry anymore, she was in a bad mood. Toko said that she was contacted by her collaborators and revealed what they said. A spherical barrier had been built around B City. With the evil witch's powers, it was easy to do that. And now their movements were restricted for 24 hours. You guys should have beaten them faster. Toko didn't try to hide her crankiness, and although Nozomi was depressed, Captain Grace confidently said, "Don't worry, next time I'll beat him up for sure," while Wedin happily said, "Calm down, we have to make a plan first." Rainbow positively said, "So basically, not even our enemies can escape for 24 hours. Even Poster-E made a positive remark, saying, if I use my magical skill, we can chase down our enemies for sure." Nozomi, the magical girl Kurukuru Hime, comforted the only other magical girl who was unsure about this funny trick. Just because she had common sense, it doesn't mean they'll be rescued. Including Toko, all of them consulted on what to do. "It's getting late. It'll be better if we gathered up somewhere, right? It's fine if we practice our powers or discuss our plan of action, but we need a lookout. Don't forget our enemies are looking for us. Just scream if you're attacked. Let us know by making a loud noise. If you think about it, that's actually a good thing to do when the enemy attacks, right? But if we stay transformed, then they'll have an easier time finding us. Should we de-transform? Can I just be the only one that stays transformed? Umi-chan, don't be selfish." Captain Grace decided to offer a base of operations for the Magical Girl Corps. It was in the outskirts of the city, an old apartment with no one living there. She seemed to have inherited it from her grandfather. Everyone hurried there, first attempting to understand their magical powers. They exchanged information to each other, they moved out, contacting their houses. Nozomi also moved out herself, and after handling some processing information at school, she rejoined them. The students separated from Nozomi, and she remembered what had happened when her mother collapsed a few years ago. At the time, Nozomi left her job to care for her mother. Her father had the policy of not leaving her mother's care to hospitals, something Nozomi didn't have. Even if she asked for nursing visits, it wouldn't happen. Either her father or Nozomi had to quit their job. Comparing their salaries, her father, who worked at the government, as well as the ability to nurse people, which her father didn't know, it was better for Nozomi to quit her job instead. Nozomi never regretted her choice. However, if her mother never fell ill, she thought, she would hate herself a little for thinking that. If her mother hadn't collapsed, could Nozomi have married this one person? There was someone that she thought about, but ever since her mother collapsed, the opportunity to meet them began to decline, and soon they never talked with each other and parted ways. Her father was still healthy, but he hasn't been talking much. If her father also collapsed, then Nozomi had to be the only one to nurse him. When she was nursing her mother, her father didn't want to entrust her to the hospital, as she felt that her mother was his responsibility, and similarly, Nozomi also held feelings of being grateful for being raised by him. Becoming a magical girl, it was similar to when her mother collapsed. Her time was finite, and with the limited time she had, she was going to put her hands to good use, sacrificing her personal time so that things could go back to normal. When she was taking care of her mother, she consulted with her father, and they worked together. But being a magical girl, there's no way she could ever hope to work together with her father. Even if Toko said a world crisis is approaching, Nozomi returned to the school science lab alone. Alright, let me get a sip of drink so that my voice doesn't completely go away. What page are we on, out of curiosity? 13, we're doing pretty well. It's been 34 minutes. We're doing really well, actually. Okay, let's get a sip of this water. Or tea, rather. Alright, next scene. When she went to the apartment roof, she saw the students gathering together, all trying out and discussing their magical skills. They were still continuing to do that. People were probably going to get used to them as seeing some beautiful girls in strange costumes having a party. Nozomi decided to join in. She looked for a space to stand in between them. Finally, they realized something. "Didn't you say that we should de-transform?" Everyone was sitting around transformed. That and some other things. Other things? One of us would rather not de-transform. It'll be inconvenient for her. Inconvenient how? It's May. The Arabian-style girl raised her hand, disappearing on the spot. Hey Teach, look at this. Captain Grace pulled her sleeves and lowered her line of sight. Where Tepsukeme was, there was something in her place. Wait, that thing was not an object, but something alive. Huh? She saw an animal. There was no mistaking that it was the science lab's tortoise, and as she thought of that, the tortoise disappeared. Tepsukeme, is that how you pronounce that? Tepsukeme reappeared again. If Tepsukeme de-transforms, she won't be able to communicate. I'm just calling her May for the most part. If Tepsukeme de-transforms, she won't be able to communicate, and her intelligence will be severely decreased. That's why Umi-chan decided it's better that everyone stay transformed, but... Funny trick explained the situation, but from her expression, it's clear she was frantically trying to follow the mood. Nozomi knew that. Nozomi kneaded her fingers between her eyes. Now that she knew that magic transcends common sense, it'll be bad if she keeps being surprised at this point. She hadn't noticed the difference between the number of girls before they transformed and the number of magical girls there were now. Either way, Tepsukeme was a wonderful companion. She felt bad for her if Nozomi exaggerated her surprise. Okay. Right, well, let's move on. What were we talking about? We were talking about each of our powers. Right, then I'll also tell you mine. I made a simple note just a while ago. Wedin, 2D, Mine Musubiya, seals promises. Oh, we knew that. So, I had forgot about that. We did know Wedin's. Seals promises. Physical abilities not high. I have no idea what seals promises means in the scheme of things, though. Captain Grace, 2C, Shihabara. Summons a pirate ship. Equipment can be taken out of ship. Excellent physical ability and speed. Tepsukeme, Egyptian tortoise, May. Assimilates with the wind. Physical abilities not so good, but is fast. Can fly. Funny trick, 2C, Kaio Nemeda. Transfers the positions of 2 hidden objects. Physical abilities high. Postery, 1B, Tatsuko Sakaki. Grows wings on objects and makes them fly to their owner. Physical abilities low. Okay, so she turns any object into a carrier pigeon. Alright. Physical abilities low. Rainbow, 1B, Kaori Ninotsuki. Makes rainbow bridges. Physical abilities moderate. Okay. Kurukuru Hime, language teacher Nozomi Himeno, ? This seemed to be the class president, the one who the teachers could relax and depend on. Nozomi wrote down her magical skill on the blank piece of paper and transformed into Kurukuru Hime. Manipulating ribbons was Kurukuru Hime's magical skill. If she timed it well, she could use it to help her move around, so she's like Ribbon Spider-Man, helping her jump between building to building, leaping forward, stretching her ribbons in the air, wrapping around the edges of the buildings or wires, pulling herself closer. By doing this, she could extend her jumping distance, and also reduce the time she took to travel. She could also use her ribbons to bind her enemies. She would wrap their entire body with her ribbons. She tried wrapping it around Wedin, also known as Mie Musubiya, pre-magical girl. Wedin tried to move her arms, but it seems that she couldn't break through the ribbons. A magical girl's arm strength was extraordinary, yet these ribbons could endure even them. I see. They can't even move, said Wedin in a cool tone. This is the kind of magical skill that you'd see in an erotic game or manga. Why does an underage girl like you know about those things? That's just common sense. I'd prefer it if you discard that kind of common sense, if you please. She thought Wedin was a serious girl. She was a lot more casual as a magical girl. Nozomi had to be careful not to be too casual with her. Nozomi's dignity as a teacher collapsed and faded away. It was doubtful that Nozomi even had dignity to begin with. Okay, now we have an illustration. Bondage illustration. With Nozomi and Wedin. And of course Nozomi the teacher looks more lolly than Wedin. Wedin is a key level waifu. Cute. I like it. Either way, let's continue on. We are making great time. We're at page 18 already. Whenever Wedin uses her sealing promises magical skill, no matter how lighthearted the promise was, if you made a promise to her, you had to keep it. If you said, "I won't hit you," to Wedin, then when you moved your hands to do so, you'd feel numbness in your hands, being unable to move it. That's a scary power. Of course, it symbolizes the fearsome bonds of marriage. Why does an underage girl like you say things like that? It's just common sense. I'd prefer it if you discard that kind of common sense, if you please. While they were talking to themselves, Captain Grace, who was sitting on the edge of the rooftop, got out. You know, since we became magical girls, don't you think our names should have matched a theme, you know? Fruits, or colors, or elements, fire, water, earth, wind. If we matched up, it'll make us look more like teammates, right? Wedin, Captain Grace, Funny Trick, Posteri, Tepsukeme. In terms of unity, it's as if they were all protagonists of their own stories. Their names and outfits completely clashed, especially Kurukuru Hime, whose name could be translated as Clumsy Princess. Being decorated in pretty ribbons made her feel like there was an inconsistency with her name. If Nozomi got to name herself, then she'd pay attention to the students' names and also give herself a fancier name. She asked Toko, "Why did you give me a name like this?" And Toko replied, My inspiration went downhill," while folding her arms in her chest. She blamed the smiling palm-sized fairy in her hand. "Can I even change this?" she asked again. "You need a connection with some higher-ups for that," replied Toko, basically telling her not in your wildest dreams. Wedin shrugged her shoulders, ironically smiling. "I mean, I'd say it fits us, don't you think? Even without a sense of unity, it's not wrong to think we're a ragtag group of people who join together, right?" Rainbow refuted it. "That's not true. We're all students and friends that go to the same school." "No, we don't all need to be friends to trust each other, right?" Wedin lightly nodded. "Well, we don't need to match after all. Are you sure we shouldn't just match?" Kurukuru Hime didn't think what Grace was saying was wrong. The long-running TV series Star Queen had their magical girls united by their names, which were all related to constellations. Each person had their own constellation and used special moves related to it. Meanwhile, the Cutie Healer series was a series where they had new magical girls every season. Even though the motif changes each season, every magical girl team always had the same united themes. So of course I believe they're talking about Pretty Cure and what was the first one? Star Queen, I think, was maybe supposed to be in reference to Sailor Moon. Maybe. But then again, I don't know a ton of old magical girl series that they could be referencing. Wedin placed her fingers between her eyes, and then she gasped a bit. Perhaps she thought that she still had glasses on, forgetting that they disappeared when she transformed and tried to readjust them. "Are we even magical girls in the first place?" "Huh? Of course we're magical girls. Toko said so, didn't she?" "I don't think we're properly magical girls." Modern Japanese girls and one animal, given mysterious powers and cute outfits by a fairy from the land of magic. Moreover, even the fairy called them magical girls. There was no reason for them not to be magical girls. Funny Trick placed her fingers on her chin. "Whether that's true or not, for now, it's simpler to think we're magical girls." Toko explained it too, and I've tried various experiments myself. As expected, my physical abilities were remarkably enhanced. We're not magical girls, we're pretty warrior girls. We're more like battle heroines, right? Kurukuru Hime could only tilt her head, responding with a solid, "Huh? Pretty warrior girls are a different genre than magical girls, right?" "Are they really different?" "But we have magical powers. The source of our powers isn't relevant. Whether it's ninjutsu or science, in a magical girl series, anything can work. But both Star Queen and Cutie Healer are magical girls. No, Star Queen and Cutie Healer are pretty warrior girls, not magical girls." Wedin spoke. She said that magical girl characters' main thing is to bring their magic to their day-to-day life, and should clearly be distinguished from the allies and enemies of pretty warrior girls who have powers and abilities close to magic. If you include even other genres into magical girl, then that's a sign of just being an arrogant magical girl fan. She was gripping her fists until they were red. Cute. Gripping her fists until they were red, talking while scoffing, far from the cool image of the student council Mine Musabiya. The candle flame decorating Wedin's veil burnt up. Did that candle reflect the mental state of the user? For the majority of battle action characters, there's no rule that says they have to keep their identities and magical powers a secret. Is someone a magical girl just because they go to a wizarding school? What about an elf who's curious about the human world and comes out of the forest? Is that elf a magical girl? They're not, right? These girls aren't magical girls. Simply pretty warrior girls aren't magical girls, or similarly, pretty warrior girls aren't magical girls. But you see, even if they don't use magic in their everyday lives, they're characters with magical girl motifs, right? Funny Trick pushed in with a small objection. Wedin quickly pushed back. That's what you would call a character with a magical girl motif. It's not the actual character, for example. Do you believe that everyone with an Oda Nobunaga motif is actually Oda Nobunaga? They're not. Captain Grace furrowed her lower lip. She was clearly frustrated. It was easy to predict that she's going to be trouble if left alone, so Kuruhime followed up. But there are also shows that have magical girl in the title, right? No, Miss Himeno. Like I said, they're only using magical girl motifs. They're not actually magical girls. Wedin cleared her throat. And besides, she continued, although Cutie Healer and Star Queen do have unified names, that kind of unified naming style is not a magical girl trait. That is in fact a Sentai team trait. Both series aren't even related to Sentai, meaning, even if we don't have any relations, we're still pretty warrior girls, understand? Oh my god, you're all a bunch of nerds. Captain Grace interrupted the conversation. With one word, Grace attacked Wedin's entire theory. Grace glared at Wedin. While Wedin was looking at Grace's frightful appearance, she was also glaring back. Funny Trick pulled on Grace's sleeves, but Grace shoved it off. Rainbow raised her eyebrow. Poster-E just looked nervous. Kuru stood up, clapping her palms together. Right, well let's end the argument here. Next, we're going to try collaborating. She tried to blow off the bad mood, and even though she couldn't, still, she'll give instructions and guide the kids on where to go, and surely they'll follow. Wait, Miss Himeno. Wedin raised her hand. Before we do that, there's something we have to decide first. And what would that be? Wedin's long hem skirt began to flow as she stood up and spread out both arms. We have to decide who our leader's going to be. The topic was who should be the leader. After Captain Grace and Wedin debated, it was decided that the leader will be decided by popular vote, and with one vote difference, Wedin became the group leader. Whatever happens, follow my lead, okay? Instructed Wedin. No one reacted, since they didn't think much about it. But after repeating it 3 times, everyone started to notice. Some people were nervous, some were disgusted, some people agreed, some people nodded expressionlessly. For now, everyone was calm. Something poked Kuru's shoulder, and looking back she saw Tepsukeme floating with an expressionless face. In the end, what will May have? Kuru didn't understand the meaning of the question, and if she didn't understand the question she couldn't answer. Kuru simply replied, your own strength. Okay, so now we're 22 pages in. That's where I was expecting to get to, and we're at 48 minutes. You know what? I want to get this video up and then do Tower of God. So, I'll actually end it here. I was going to say, should I push and try to get the last 10 pages out in one video? But I don't know, because then it might be, like, too long. It would be, let's see, probably 25 more minutes. It'd be an hour, 15-minute video. I could do it, but I'm just going to go ahead and stay, like, healthy, take my time, pace myself, and go ahead and end this one here. And then in a couple days, maybe Thursday or Friday-ish, I would say, so yeah, only 2-3 days, I'd say expect the next part of this then. And then we can, yeah, finish off this chapter. Nobody's died yet, which is both happy, because I like seeing all these characters and their interactions, and also sad, because I know it's coming, and I know I'm getting even more connected to these characters, and I'm going to be even more devastated when they die. Right now, Mana is one of my favorite characters. I really like Mana. And Wedin is 1000% one of my favorite characters. I liked Wedin in Chapter 1, and I still like Wedin a lot now. I like Nozomi a lot, but I very much fear for Nozomi's safety. Poster-E I like. Poster-E's kind of been in the background for the majority of this, but I like Poster-E. And again, Poster-E had one of the highest death percentages when I did my predictions. I'm not expecting much survival from her. But yeah, either way, we'll pick up where we left off at this Captain Grace perspective at page 22 in a couple days. So until then, thank you so much for watching. Like if you did like the video, comment down there too. Tell me what you thought of this first part of this chapter, what you thought of my first thoughts and reaction. Subscribe for more Magical Girl Raising Project, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us there, then just ask and I'll give you a link. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.